So, before we move forward and start coding the add transaction, edit transaction, and so on, we want to simplify our code, because if we start coding everything in this one account, then it will be very stressed, okay? And we will not actually take advantage of the power of React, because the whole idea of React is to use components and simplify our application to smaller chunks that later on will be combined to this complex thing. So what we're trying to avoid is to write this thousands and thousands of lines of code in the same place. So instead, what we're going to do is we will make them in smaller components, and we use bundlers like parcel to bundle our application and create this thing for us. So when we work with our application, we can work it with a smaller chunk of components. All right, so let's do that. And now, instead of typing the whole thing here, let's move this entire div from here to here and move it to another place called, in another component called accounts table. So I'll right click new and create a JavaScript file, and I will call it AccountsTable dot accounts table. Okay, now this accounts table will hold all of this, okay, all of my accounts table stuff. So I will right click, cut everything inside here. I'll cut this and I will use it inside my accounts table. So you can use the shortcut, of course, they type this and call it accounts table. So inside accounts table, I will remove this div and paste everything here. Okay, so now I have a single div in accounts table that contains all of my accounts, so it will display the table. So how can I now inject this accounts table into my accounts? Easy, we import accounts table from accounts table. Okay, now this accounts table, how do you inject it here? Just use the tag of accounts table and you're done. But there is one issue where if we try to run now our application, it will crash. Why? Because it says reference accounts is not defined, and always please read the console. It says uncaught reference accounts is not defined in accounts table. And if I click on this, I can clearly see where it's complaining. It's complaining right here, saying, hey, this thing is not defined, define it. And if I go back to my accounts table, yes, I don't have the access to the accounts anymore. And also I don't have access to handle account type change, because both of these methods exist in the accounts component. So what should you do? You remember the first time when we started, the way we passed methods and also data to the app.js and index in the beginning when we started the tutorial? We will do exactly the same way. We will go to accounts and we pass those things by doing this. So I'll say, hey, accounts equals to my accounts. These are the accounts. And what is the other method it needs? It says handle account type change equals to handle account type change, and handle delete equals to this handle delete. So now I am passing all of the three information to the accounts, and accounts now will receive this. So how can account access this information? Again, the same thing we have done in the beginning of the lab. We will write accounts, comma, handle delete, comma, and whatever name we named it there. Okay, so we named it here in the accounts. We named them what? Accounts, handle delete, and handle this. Okay, and then we will name them there. And if I click now, everything works fine, exactly the way it was working. And the nice thing about it is now my accounts component is a lot more simpler, because it only has the tag of account, and now accounts table has all of the other data. All right, so anyone who provides these methods can reuse accounts table. Right? But there is one small issue, which is we don't name the parent method names handle accounts type change, but when we pass to the children, we don't name them handle, we name them on, and we name them on. So this is kind of a convention. So whoever is handling it will say handle account, so we know this method exists in the same component. But whenever you're passing this component to the child, you instead use what? On delete, on account change, okay, on something. Now the child needs to modify the handle to on, because what's passed is now called on, and we will write on here in the accounts table. So in accounts table now we have on delete and on account type change and accounts passed to this component. Okay, so this component is called control component because so far this component does not have any state. This component, it gets value from outside. Okay, and now we can no longer use handle accounts here delete. So what do we use? Or handle accounts type change, we will use this one. So we will copy this and change the first selection to on account type change. And again we will go down here, and what will we do? Instead of calling handle, we will call the on delete account change, or whatever you called it here. Just have to pass the same thing here. And now if you go back to our application and try to delete something, it still deletes. And if we do saving, it just shows saving one thing. But if we refresh it now and we do saving, it works, current works, and all work. And we try to rearrange our code in a way that is component based. Okay, and this is, we will now continue with the next part.